assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Shivaya Krishna Krishnaya Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Hare Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees. Accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class is from Canto 2, Chapter 4, and Text 18. Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha Abhira Shimbam Yavana Kasadayam Inyecha Papa Yarapashtaya Sudyanti Tasmai Pava Vishnave Nama Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha Abhira Shimbam Yavana Kasadayam Inyecha Papa Yarapashtaya Sudyanti Tasmai Pava Vishnave Nama Kirata Hunandra Pulinga Putacha Abhira Shumba Yavana Prasadaya Yenyecha Papa Yarapasraya Saya Sudyanti Tasmai Pava Vishnavi Nama. Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha Abhirasum Bhayavana Kasadaya Yena cha papayad aprasyasyaya subhayanti tasmai Prabha Vishnave Namaha.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krita Punamra Pulinga Pukasha Abhira Sambayavana Kasadaya Yenye Chapapaya Apasaya Swaya Sudyanti Tasmai Prabha Vishnave Namah.
Okay.
Irata Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha Abhira Sumbhaya Vanakasadaya Ye Anye Cha Papa Yadapashraya Shraya Shudhyanti Tasmai Prabha Vishnave Namaha.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, word for word. Kirata, a province of old Bharat. Pune, part of Germany and Russia. Andhra, a province of southern India. Pulinda, the Greeks. Pulkasha, another province. Abhira, part of old Sindh. Shumba, another province. Yavana, the Turks. Kasaadaya, the Mongolian province. Ye, even those. Anye, others. Cha, also. Papa, addicted to sinful activities. Yat, whose. Apashraya, ashraya, having taken shelter of the devotees of the Lord. Shudanti, at once purified. Tasmai, unto him. Prabha Vishnave, unto the powerful Vishnu. Nama, my respectful obeisances. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Kiratas, Hunas, Andhras, Pulindas, Pulkashas, Abhiras, Shumbas, Yavanas, members of the caste races, and even others addicted to sinful activities can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord due to His being supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto Him. Purport. Kirata, a province of old Bharatvarsha mentioned in the Bhishma Parva of the Mahabharata. Generally, the Kiratas are known as the aboriginal tribes of India, and in modern days, the Santal Parganas in Bihar and Chota Nagpur might comprise the old province named Kirata. Huna, the area of East Germany and part of Russia is known as the province of the Hunas. Accordingly, sometimes a kind of hill tribe is known as the Hunas. Andhra, a province in southern India mentioned in the Bhishma Parva of the Mahabharata. It's still extant under the same name. Pulinda, it is mentioned in the Mahabharata Adi Parva 26.10, namely the inhabitants of the province of the name Pulinda. This country was conquered by Bhimsen and Sahadev. The Greeks are known as Pulindas, and it is mentioned in the Vana Parva of the Mahabharata that the non-Vedic race of this part of the world would rule over the world. This Pulinda province was also one of the provinces of Bharat, and the inhabitants were classified among the Kshatriya kings. But later on, due to their giving up to Brahminical culture, they were mentioned as mlechas, just as those who are not followers of the Islamic culture are called kafirs, and those who are not followers of the Christian culture are called heathens. Abhira. This name also appears in the Mahabharata, both in the Sabha Parva and Bhishma Parva. It is mentioned that this province was situated on the river Saraswati in Sindh. The modern Sindh province formerly extended on the other side of the Arabian Sea, and all the inhabitants of that province were known as the Abhiras. They were under the domination of Maharaj Yudhishthira, and according to the statements of Markandeya, and the mlechas of this part of the world would also rule over Bharat. Later on, this proved to be true, as in the case of the Pulindas. On behalf of the Pulindas, Alexander the Great conquered India, and on behalf of the Abhiras, Muhammad Ghori conquered India. These Abhiras were also formerly Kshatriyas within the Brahminical culture, but they gave up the connection. The Kshatriyas who are afraid of Parashuram had hidden themselves in the Caucasian hilly regions, later on became known as the Abhiras, and the place they inhabited was known as Abhira Desha. Shumbas or Kankas, the inhabitants of the Kanka province of Old Bharat, mentioned in Mahabharata. Yavana. Yavana was the name of one of the sons of Maharaj Yayati, who was given the part of the world known as Turkey to rule. Therefore, the Turks are Yavanas due to being descendants of Maharaj Yavana. The Yavanas were therefore Kshatriyas, and later on, by giving up the Brahminical culture, they became Mlecha Yavanas. Descriptions of the Yavanas are in the Mahabharata. A province called Turvashu was also known as the Yavana Adi Parva 80.26. And his country, a prince called Turvasu was also known as the Yavana in the Adi Parva of 80.26. And his country was conquered by Sahadev and one of the Pandavas. The Western Yavanas joined with Duryodhana in the Battle of Kurukshetra under the pressure of Kana. It was foretold that these Yavanas would also conquer India, and it proved to be true. Kasa, the inhabitants of Kashadesh, are mentioned in the Mahabharata Drona Parva. Those who have a stunted growth of hair on the upper lip are generally called Kasas. As such, the Kasas are the Mongolians, the Chinese, and others who are so designated. The above mentioned historical names are different nations of the world. Even those who are constantly engaged in sinful acts are all corrigible to the standard of perfect human beings if they take shelter of the devotees of the Lord. Jesus Christ and Muhammad, two powerful devotees of the Lord, have done tremendous service on behalf of the Lord on the surface of the globe. And from the version of Srila Shukadeva Goswami, it appears that instead of running a godless civilization in the present context of the world situation, if the leadership of world affairs is entrusted to the devotees of the Lord, for which a worldwide organization under the name and style of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness has already been started, then by the grace of the Almighty Lord, there can be a thorough change of heart in human beings all over the world because the devotees of the Lord are able authorities to effect such a change by purifying the dust-worn minds of the people in general. The politicians of the world may remain in their respective positions because the pure devotees of the Lord are not interested in political leadership or diplomatic implications. The devotees are interested only in seeing that the people in general are not misguided by political propaganda and in seeing that the valuable life of a human being is not spoiled in following a type of civilization which is ultimately doomed. If the politicians, therefore, would be guided by the good counsel of the devotees, then certainly there would be a great change in the world situation by the purifying propaganda of the devotees, as shown by Lord Chaitanya. As Shukadeva Goswami began one of his prayers with the words Yat Kirtanam, so also Lord Chaitanya recommended that simply by glorifying the Lord's holy name, a tremendous change of heart can take place, by which the complete misunderstanding between the human nations created by politicians can at once be extinguished. And after the extinction of the fire of misunderstanding, other prophets will follow. The destination is to go back home, back to Godhead, as we have several times discussed in these pages. According to the cult of devotion, generally known as the Vaishnava cult, there is no bar against anyone's advancing in the matter of God realization. The Vaishnava is powerful enough to turn into Vaishnavas, even the Kiratas, etc., as above mentioned. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 32, it is said by the Lord that there is no bar to becoming a devotee of the Lord, even for those who are low-born or women, Shudras or Vaishyas. And by becoming a devotee, everyone is eligible to return home, back to Godhead. The only qualification is that one takes shelter of a pure devotee of the Lord, who has thorough knowledge of the transcendental science of Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam. Anyone from any part of the world who becomes well conversant in the science of Krishna becomes a pure devotee and a spiritual master for the general mass of people, and may reclaim them by purification of the heart. Though a person be even the most sinful man, he can at once be purified by systematic contact with a pure Vaishnava. The Vaishnava therefore can accept a bona fide disciple from any part of the world without any consideration of caste or creed, and promote him by regulative principles to the status of a pure Vaishnava who is transcendental to Brahminical culture. The system of caste or varnashram dharma is no longer regular even amongst the so-called followers of the system, nor is it now possible to re-establish the institutional function in the present context of social, political, and the economic revolution. Without any reference to the particular custom of a country, one can be accepted into the Vaishnava cult spiritually, and there is no hindrance in the transcendental process. So by the order of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the cult of Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita can be preached all over the world, reclaiming all persons willing to accept the transcendental cult. Such cultural propaganda by the devotees will certainly be accepted by all persons who are reasonable and inquisitive, without any particular bias for the custom of the country. The Vaishnava never accepts another Vaishnava on the basis of birthright, just as he never thinks of the deity of a Lord in a temple as an idol. And to remove all doubts in this connection, Sri Shukadeva Goswami has invoked the blessings of the Lord, who is all-powerful, Prabha Vishnave Namaha. As the all-powerful Lord in his form as the worshipful deity in the temple accepts the humble service of his devotees in the devotional activities of Archana, similarly, the body of a pure Vaishnava changes transcendentally at once when he gives himself up to the service of the Lord and is trained by a qualified Vaishnava. The injunction of Vaishnava regulation in this connection runs as follows. Arche Vishnu Shiladhir Gurushu Naramatir Vaishnave Jati Buddhi. Sri Vishnu Nami Shabda Samanya Buddhi, etc., etc. One should not consider the deity of the Lord as worshipped in the temple to be an idol, nor should one consider the authorized spiritual master as ordinary man. Nor should one consider a pure Vaishnava to belong to a particular caste, etc. That's from Padma Purana. The conclusion is that the Lord, being all-powerful, can under any and every circumstance accept anyone from any part of the world, either personally or through his bona fide manifestation as a spiritual master. Lord Chaitanya accepted many devotees from communities other than the Varnashramites, and he himself declared to teach us that he does not belong to any caste or social order of life, but that he is the eternal servant of the Lord who maintains the damsels of Vrindavan, Lord Krishna. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya, chapter 13, text 80. That is the way of self-realization. Oma Gyanati Midandasya, Gyana Gyana Shalakaya. Jakshu Umilitam Dhyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadatikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupa Sagajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shavanasate Devi Paramani Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhishcha Kripa Sindhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatya Deshatarini Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Guru Chache Namaha Ananda Lilamaya Vigrahaya Himavi Rivacha Vishndaraya Tasmi Mahaprema Raspadaya Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Shri Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Shri Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Shri Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Hare Krishna. So the translation again is Kiratas Hunas, Andras, Pulindas, Pulkashas, Abhiras, Shumbas, Yavanas, members of the caste races, and even others addicted to sinful activities can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord Due to his being the supreme power, I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Hare Krishna. Long purport, but also a lot of information is there. That's good. First, we see that in the modern days, we have different names now for the areas that earlier these people belonged to. And then one thing is said about all of them. Papa Johnny. But practically the whole world is like that now. Simple activities are all over the world. Papa, addicted to simple acts. In fact, simple acts have become in vogue. This morning before this class, I was just thinking, there is so much play now, effects on the minds of the people in general. When they say they go into cinemas, they go to cinemas and the majority of the movies are about violence. But nobody likes violence in their life. They lock their doors to keep robbers or thieves from coming. But then they go out to watch these kind of movies that portray killing, destroying. So what kind of civilization is this? What kind of life is this? We can't call that civilization. Civilized means coming to your senses and doing things properly and understanding who you really are and the world around you. We can't even see that now. Anyway, so Srila Prabhupada starts by describing, we'll take a few of them. Kirata is part of Old Bard Bhasha in Bihar and Chota region. And the Hunas are the East Germans and part of Russia. And Andhra is still being used, the same name is there, Andhra. The Greeks are called the Pulindas, or were called the Pulindas. Abhiras also, they are part of, it says they are situated on the river Sindh. That brings a whole history in itself, but we won't even get into that. Shumbas, Nikanka province, again, it's mentioned in the Bharat. Yavanas are the Turks, and the Khasas are the Mongolians, Chinese, who have distinct features in the face and body. And then Srila Prabhupada begins the wonderful spiritual campaign by saying that from Sukadeva Goswami, and it's a very long sentence actually, so I'll read it like it is. Version of Sukadeva Goswami says that instead of running a godless civilization, like the way it is in the world situation, if the leadership of world affairs is entrusted to the devotees of the Lord, for which a organization like ISKCON has been established, which means ISKCON is present in practically every country, and so the devotees that can advise the politicians, then if that's set up where the politicians are listening to devotees for advice, then by the grace of the Almighty Lord, there can be a thorough change of heart in the politicians themselves, and everything a big man does, and the others follow. So then it would be a situation where the devotees would affect the minds of the politicians. Politicians would put in the mode of goodness, which will get away all of this violence things that now are all around. And through that, then people's minds will be purified. And Sipapa says, the dust-worn minds, the minds covered with dust. And when something is covered with dust, you don't see the real quality of it, the real character of it. It's all gone because it seems like it's all gone because the dust is covering it. Samsara dava naladida loka. So this is the situation with me. Devotees, Srila Prabhupada says, we're just not interested in being politicians ourselves, just but seeing that the politicians are not misguiding the people by political propaganda. And we know this is what's happening now. Hmm? And with this political propaganda, then the valuable life of a human being is being spoiled. So the devotees can see to it that this doesn't happen. Because if that happens, where political propaganda is spoiling the valuable life of human beings, where human beings don't understand who they really are, if that is happening, then many people are ultimately doomed. They will not be able to take advantage of, and they won't be able to understand what it is that they have, that they are in the type of physical body and subtle body that is advanced enough to be able to understand what it is that's here in this world. Where would they go next? Why is there so much suffering? The animals and the other 8 million types of bodies that souls occupy don't give the kind of intelligence. You don't get the kind of intelligence once you are in the non-human type to be able to reason through the problems of this world, the problems that everybody is having, to have some sense of what's going on and what can be done about it. So we are in a situation where Lord Chaitanya is recommending the Lord in the most magnificent form. Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurachishaya Namaha. Lord Chaitanya is most magnificent. And he's saying, glorify the Lord's name, and a tremendous change of heart can take place. Glorify the Lord's name. Chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Not chant for ourselves only, but chant everywhere. Chant congregationally. Chant wherever we go. Chant when we go on Harinam. It doesn't matter if people don't understand. It doesn't, and of course in Harinam, we see different kinds of people with different reactions to what devotees are doing. There's some people who are very happy to join in, and there are devotees who, there are others who seem unconcerned, and then there are others who are wondering why are they doing something like this. And then the most funny part is there are people who wonder, how come they're so happy? How come they're so happy? We are struggling through this world. There's so much on us to do. But these people seem to just chanting and they feel so happy. You don't realize that a mantra will make you feel happy when you sing and chant with the devotees. It just happens automatically. The Lord is like that. His name is wonderful. The Lord's name is the Lord. And the supreme soul, the Lord himself, is of supreme bliss. Therefore, it robs us from devotees when they call the holy name. And then they become happy. That's why we dance the way we do in the temple. And then we dance outside too. The holy name of the Lord is that powerful. And so Srila Prabhupada is saying that Lord Chaitanya has recommended that if we chant the holy name of the Lord tremendously, then he will have also a tremendous change of heart. So all of this misunderstanding that's going on can be extinguished. So we have to believe Srila Prabhupada and keep chanting. No matter what's happening, keep chanting. As a matter of fact, what was explained to me in lectures by other sannyasis I heard earlier was that this world was supposed to have been finished a long time ago. Even in the 50s, supposed to be. But, and I remember people were talking about Jehovah's Witnesses were saying the world's going to end soon. They started talking about that in the 50s. Why they did not? It's because of the holy name of the Lord. The holy name that Srila Prabhupada had the assignment to propagate all around the world. That changed the whole timing of what could have happened to this planet. And it's still happening in terms of the adjustment of time of things that would happen on this planet because of the holy name. The holy name is turning the situation around for Mother Bhumi. There are demons still who think that they can solve the problems of the world. They started years ago, decades ago, and it still hasn't worked. So everybody can become a devotee. Srila Prabhupada makes the point that there is no prevention of anybody from any part of the world to become a devotee. And that's why ISKCON spread the way it did, because the holy name was taken to all parts of the world, and those who were ready accepted it, and they've been chanting all over the world, just like we chant here also every day. And those who have taken shelter of the spiritual master, they are even bound to a number of rounds to be chanted. And speaking about chanting the rounds, we know our bead bags have counter beads on the side. The counter beads are 20. So the devotee is supposed to chant 64 rounds. Srila Prabhupada, by his mercy, has reduced it to 16 rounds. So before, the devotee was chanting 16 rounds with the same type of counter beads. And it was explained by Chandamali Swami. I'd just like to share it because some people may know, some people may not know. So when you chant 16 rounds, clearly, if you count 16 rounds on the side, the bead counter, there are 4 beads, Tulsi beads, that are remaining, that are not counted. So why is it that there are 4? So one chants 16 rounds. You can push your 16 rounds down and get your chanting done. That's the first 16 rounds. Then of the 4 that's left, you can pull 1 down a little bit. So that's one set of 16 rounds. Then, so those were chanting 64 rounds before Srila Prabhupada reduced it. That's what they did. They chanted 16 rounds, and then they pull one of the 4 down a little bit. Then they start chanting 16 rounds again. That's 32 rounds. And they pull the second one down. Then they chant again. That's 48 rounds. Another 16 rounds. They pull the third one down. And then they chant 16 rounds again. That's 64 rounds. And then they pull the 4th one down. So the last 4 out of the 16 are meant for counting sets of 16 rounds. 4 sets of 16 rounds. 16 times 4 is 64 rounds. So that's how the same counter was used. But of course, now Srila Prabhupada has put us in a situation where we should chant at least 16 rounds, one set of, or 1/4 of the 64 rounds. Chanting definitely purifies everywhere. Everywhere the holy name is. The holy name is God himself. So that is purifying for this world now in Kali Yuga. And anyone can do this. And Srila Prabhupada says the only qualification is that one should take shelter of a pure devotee of the Lord who has good knowledge, thorough knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Because those 2 books, or 2, well, I would say Bhagavad Gita and then Srimad Bhagavatam is a large book or a set of books, depending on the way you get it, or how it's bound. Transcendental science can be learned from them, as we know well. And of course, the general masses can be purified too when a person has learned this and become a Shiksha Guru, where they are actually spreading the word of God from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And it has a great effect. I remember when I was, in the early 90s, when I came in to Krishna consciousness, I actually came in 1990, and began to hear lectures, and they had such a profound effect on me. At that time, I didn't know Bhagavad Gita, I didn't know Srimad Bhagavatam, but I was hearing lectures from Bhakti Maharaj. And he was talking about physical things, metaphysical things. But then he would put some things in there, which later on I learned was from the Bhagavad Gita. But those were the ones that had the greatest effect. The other ones were just leading to what he wanted to talk about, and that is the transcendental science of Krishna from Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which he talked from also, has such a great effect. Can make a person purified, even the most sinful person. Papa Joni, like all of these places that this particular text describes. Hmm? So, Sri Prabhupada is saying that Lord Chaitanya has ordered Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita to be preached all over the world. And that would reclaim all persons willing to accept this change and connecting. So many people do still, at this time, want to connect with transcendence. Some people still know, and the story is the same with so many people, because it's my story also. We're all in some sort of religion, and we realized that it wasn't helping us much. Some things were there, some understanding of God was there, but it wasn't helping us much because we had so many more questions, and the religion simply couldn't answer them. So then we realized there's something wrong. There has to be more. And naturally, when a person has questions and the answers are not coming, you're going to go somewhere to try to find the answers. And so through prayer, we wound up at Vaishnav lifestyle. Krishna connected us to the devotee, and the answers all kept coming. And then we found out something else. All the answers can be provided for every question that we ask. And then we find out there's even more that we didn't know that Krishna consciousness supplies. So it is a very powerful, powerful, powerful path, royal path of devotion that we have to stay with and also help others who may have challenges, because Maya never sleeps either. We always have some things disturbing us. And since we are not pure just yet, if you're like me, you're not definitely not pure. But we are excited about Krishna consciousness. We should help each other. And through the association, we should help each other talk about Krishna. And whatever we hear, we also share. Just like we talked about the counting not of the beads on the side for our a bead bag like that, and how you do 64 rounds with the counter beads. We should never consider the deity of the Lord as an idol. The Prabhupada says if we do that, then the Lord will remain an idol or a piece of material to us for our lives, for the rest of our lives. And that is very, very, very unfortunate. The Lord has come in his mercy form as an Achat Murti. We don't have the kind of eyes to see the Lord, but he comes in deity form. He comes in his deity form by the mercy to make it possible for us to begin to offer service and glorification to the Lord, because this is our life in the spiritual world. So if we try to practice like that, then we have to practice on or practice due to a particular situation that allows us to practice. And therefore, the deity of the Lord is the Lord himself, and we have to be extremely, extremely aware of that every time. And Srila Prabhupada concludes that the Lord being all-powerful, he can, under any and every circumstance, accept anyone from any part of the world, personally or through his bona fide representation, spiritual master. So it's just a question of whether we take the process seriously or not. And if we are convinced and take the process seriously, whether we're willing to be out there helping others to take the process seriously. It's not for us alone, it's for everyone, for every part of the world. And when we chant, we can even we can chant the holy name of the Lord out so that the living entities around us can also benefit from the holy name. It's that powerful. So Srila Prabhupada did quote from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 32. Mam hi parta vyapashritya ye pishu papayonaya. Sriyo vaishya tata shudras tepi yanti param gatim. Stressing the point, talking to Arjuna, O son of Prita, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth as women, as Vaishyas or merchants, Shudras or workers, they can attain the supreme destination. So it's just a question of taking shelter in him. Prabhupada translated Bhagavad Gita wonderfully Chapter 18, text 66, how you take shelter is you surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sarva Dharma Parityeta. You leave all other religions out and surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the highest and that is the most confidential. Once the surrender is there, he says that all kinds of simple reactions will be taken care of by him. So with this, as we grow older and older and the body becomes weaker, we realize there's some physical things we won't be able to do, but through the pain that we have to deal with on a daily basis, we still will remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And remember that we're not these bodies. And remember that we have to now put more attention towards the soul because the body is just falling apart slowly. If you've been to the hospitals as an older person, if you haven't been there, that time will come. Because I had that experience and let me share it with you. It's like, so because of the old age, something else has happened. Something has happened. You go to the hospital, they treat you as best as they can, and then they say there's some things you have to do. So then you start doing it. And then before they leave you to come home, they said, you have to do this for the rest of your life. They actually tell you this. But every one of them, one situation, they tell you later. Some people don't, but some others will do in the medical profession. And you realize, and every time you hear, and this is just for all the words, anytime you hear the medical professional tell you, this is for the rest of your life, you have to understand your body is going to break down slowly, slowly, but surely. And you better be thinking about what to do about your soul, because now you're going to depend on some kind of medicine for the rest of your life. Practically, I mean, a whole lot of people who have gotten past 60 are experiencing this, something that they have to do the rest of their lives. Mm-hmm. And the hospital has gotten so good at it that these medical professionals usually start treating you first, and they keep that information at the back until when you get ready to go, they tell you, okay, now there's this medicine, you have to take it the rest of your life. Which means the body's, the tip our part statement now becomes very, very vivid to us. We're not these bodies. Imagine those who don't know that they're not these bodies. And they told the same thing because they're getting older. Then what happens? They think, the kami would think my body has become a disappointment to me. The devotee would think, well, I was already told that I wasn't this body, so I'm not surprised that it's doing this to me. See, it's two different ways of looking at it. Similar situation of the body breaking down, the devotee realizes, I'm going to get out of this body. Well, that's not surprising. That's what Srila Prabhupada told me. I'm not this body anyway, so I'm leaving this body. This is just the steps towards doing that. And the old age has brought it a little bit more vividly to me that I shouldn't be dependent so much on this body. It can only do so much. But a person who is not a devotee, why has this body disappointed me like this? Why have I worked so hard and gotten all of these things for fun, and now I can't even have fun with them because the body can't help me? We have to have the right perception about this body. And not only that, preach that to others too, to understand that the body will disappoint. That's just the way it is. But the soul is inside this body, and that needs to be put in the best situation in the next life. And that is going back to Godhead. And all of these problems that the physical body gives will never be experienced again. And that is the situation that the mercy of the spiritual master has given to us. Srila Prabhupada chant a minimum 16 rounds here. It does not matter what status that we're in. And still Vaisya Tatashu, the Srila Prabhupada quotes that a lot. Women, merchants, and also employees. Well, that covers everybody. These days, the politicians are not even Kshatriyas. They don't know what it is like. They're not trained properly. So everybody is in that situation. Just by taking shelter in the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his bona fide representative, the spiritual master. Taking shelter means taking words that they said very seriously, and then the opportunity is there. Even he says in Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Prabhupada says, the lowest, Chandalas, Dog eaters, even they can be purified by association with pure devotee. So devotional service and guidance of the pure devotee are so strong, there's no discrimination between higher class, lower class, anyone can take to it. A simple man takes the shelter of the pure devotee, and from the proper guidance given by the pure devotee, that person can head towards the spiritual world. Now, in a section of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 7, Text 16, this situation is brought up, and again, sometimes it plays in the minds of those devotees in female bodies. And, so Srila Prabhupada put things in perspective here in this particular section about purport, about women in particular. And very, very positive comments about women. So women who are not devotees, generally they attach to material enjoyment. And because of that, usually they cannot take devotional instruction seriously, even when they hear it. But when the woman practices devotional service strictly, according to rules and regulations, then the Lord himself says that he can return to Godhead. Te piyanti param gatim. And that is not astonishing at all. So the physical body that the person is in, even though it may be a female type, if they take devotional service strictly and seriously, then they also have a chance to go. So in that sense, anybody in the female body is not prevented from this process. And those in the male bodies should not look down and say, okay, well, this has been said about women, therefore, you don't conclude like that. Women chant Hare Krishna, men chant Hare Krishna, and therefore we're all at that same level of understanding by receiving the mercy from a spiritual master that here are the elevating processes, the 9 processes of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone can follow them. Anyone in the human body, whether male or female, can follow them, and we have a chance to go back home and reap the results of it. As Srila Prabhupada translates in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Majalila, chapter 13, text 80, and those who come to the temple to serve on the altar, they know this very well. Naham vipo nacha narapati napi vaisho na shudro. Naham varni nacha grihapati no vanasto yativa kintu podhyam nikila paramananda puramita. Gopir bhatu padakamalayo dasa anidas. So Lord Chaitanya is saying, I'm none of those things in the Varnashram. Those are all labels. Not a Brahman, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya, I'm not a Shudra. That takes care of the Varna part. Nor am I a Brahmachari, householder, Vanaprastha, or sannyasi. That takes care of the ashram part. And I identify myself only as the servant of a servant of a servant of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, who maintains the gopis. He is the cause of universal transcendental bliss, and he's also existing with brilliance. So we are the servant of a servant of a servant, whether we are in the male body or female body. We are in the servant. Our business is the service to the servants of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. And this particular path is a very purifying path. And this text that we talked about earlier is usually chanted along with Om Apavita Pavitova Savavasta Gatopiva. So impure condition is apavitra, and pure condition is pavitra. So whether we are in the pure condition or an impure condition in all conditions. Sarvavastam, avastam means all conditions. So sarva means all. Sarvavastam is all conditions. Gato piva, situated, or in any condition situated. Yasmaret, anybody who remembers Pundarikaksham, that's Krishna, the Lord whose eyes are like the lotus petal, lotus-eyed Lord Pundarikaksham. That person, sa bhayantaram. Bhaya means external, abhayantara means internal. Suchi means purified. So bhaya bhyantaram suchi. That person gets purified. So when we take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Pundarikaksham, it does not matter what our situation is. Pavitra, apavitra, we will still be purified. And we will be clean spiritually. So the process is there. It's just a question of going through it to get purified. Then we can go back to the Supreme Personality of Godhead's abode, where we used to be, and all of these problems will be over. But we have to try to elevate the minds of people who are here also, because the Lord wants actually everyone to go back ultimately. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. So thank you for allowing me to do the service. And now you can unmute your phones and let's have some conversation about Krishna. Mahachita, Mahachita, Prana, Bodhayanta, Parasparam, Katayanta, Cha, Mahamityam, Tushanti Cha, Ramanti Cha. So let's do the same thing here also. Hare Krishna. Jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Anybody has realizations, comments, please just unmute yourself.
Thank you very
much. Go ahead, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for today I realized, these 64 rounds. Actually, I have on my beads, 16 rounds and then 4 of them. So yeah. I thought 16 plus 4, 20 I am doing. No, that was, I was doing like that. But the way you said that 16 plus those 4 are each time 16, 16, 64 rounds.
Yeah.
That's a good thing I realized today.
I don't think we need to put it know. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
That was a real thing, and today I realized. And then another thing is, this Chaturvarna, whatever caste we are, it is not that thing, God says, you whatever you are in the caste, sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord. So that is a simple thing. And we think that I'm not a Brahmana, I'm Kshatriya, I'm this, I'm Sudra. No, that is not the thing. It's the deeds, what we do, that makes us Brahmin or pure or something. So that's that's another thing. I just, the way you're telling, I was enjoying that. And then that apavitra pavitro va sarva avastha angatopiva. That one, the meaning, that is also. So why they say about that, sabhapyantaram, everything is purifying, like that. So those are lots of meanings are there. So I don't know how many people they know that meaning and they're doing. Just like that, like that. But that is another thing to realize, Prabhu. So these are
so much. When you think about it, see, so much has been given to us.
Yeah.
When we read Bhagavad Gita, the basic understanding of spirituality, the higher level of spirituality, then greater description in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then you get to this point where in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Lord is just putting it all together and making it such that in our lives, this is how we apply it. Chaitanya Charitamrita is great application of Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya's own life being an example of it. Starting, then getting initiated, then becoming a spiritual master, and then spreading the holy name around the world. He did all of that in the span of the 48 years that he was here. And then his pure devotees, the followers, also, as he taught them, they also wrote and explained more things to us. So we really don't have any excuse. It's all put out for us. It's just a question of taking advantage of it and extending mercy to those who don't know, so that also can take. And in that process, doing service, that we also get purified. The more we help others, the more purified we get, the more excited we get about Krishna consciousness. So yes, it's a question of being selfless. Being
lots
selfless.
of meaning on this. Lots of meaning on this.
Yes.
Everything. But how many people we are paying attention? Just like that, we're taking the mantras and then be done with it. But knowing the meaning and doing that is really.
Oh yes, very, very, very important.
Very important.
Pure condition, no pure condition, pavitra, pavitro, either one. In all conditions, just remembering the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that person becomes clean. Tavyabhantaram, externally and internally. Suchi, become purified. So we are fortunate. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Any other comments?
So you were saying, Prabhu, that people who had religious backgrounds, they asked questions, they were not satisfied, and so here they found the answers.
That's my story.
So I have never had questions. I don't think I still do. I just sort of slowly drifted into it. We first came into contact with ISKCON in 84, and it was a very slow progress. Something kept me there. Initially, it was not a strong, I was coming because the temple was very nearby and things like that. But it was not because I asked the question, who am I? Is it important to know why we or how we came in? I mean, sometimes I dwell on it, especially when somebody like you says, this is how I was not satisfied. And so I never had any such. It's just something keeps me here. Definitely, of course. The other point I wanted to make is that question of who am I, and I am not this body, is the basis of it. I started in 84, but it was a long time after that. I can tell that it is mercy of Guru and Krishna and Mahaprabhu, because I kept hearing it, obviously, from 1984. That's all I have been hearing, is that we are not this body, but the light did not go on in my head. The idea that I am not this body, and the reason I am praying to Krishna now is not to take care of my life here, and I'm trying to take care of my position going forward. And that is the biggest thing. That is the basis of everything we do now, right? Anything that we do is because we are not this body, and nothing about this body is permanent. It is just a tremendous understanding. Like when that realization came, it just changed everything. But it did not happen because I asked the question.
Well, you are fortunate in that we're all born in different situations due to karma. You are fortunate that right from the get-go, or when you heard about this, you didn't really have to deal with other types of doctrine. That you came to this and stayed with this until things got more solidified mentally for you, and then you kept going. Everybody's situation is different, and of course, it comes back to the beginning of this. There were people of this particular text that we talked about today, people from different parts of the world. Some were parts of India and some were not. And still, Lord Chaitanya's influence just come all over the world. But it's very, very interesting because what it does is it shows the mercy of the Lord. People came to Christian consciousness from all different types of situations. I just described mine that I wanted more answers, that I realized that religion simply wasn't given to me. And I went to different religions trying to find the same answers, and I didn't get them. I went to Buddhism, I went to Baha'i faith, I went to Islam, all of that. He didn't. Until finally, with the prayer still, that please, 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 there has to be more. I mean, every question has an answer. These are questions about even the universe that I'm asking, and religion can't tell me, can't answer those questions. What are these things? Mars, Earth, Jupiter. What this is heaven and hell. So is it Mars hell? Is it heaven? Is it Jupiter? Those kinds of, because they are supposed to be connected somehow. Because it seems like religion and science were in separate paths. And I said, but it's the same creation. So why should they be separate? There has to be a reason. So all of that was explained. And then it came, okay, so I came, then I learned the Sanskrit part of it, Bud and Buvad and Swa is heaven, and then even goes higher all the way up to Brahmaloka. And then the hellish planets were put in perspective too. And that thing made sense. I said, that's the place to be. So then I believed, and then I kept on going. So it's all the mercy of the Lord, how the Buddhists start first not becoming or not being members, and then later on coming into Krishna consciousness. So we, in the same way, we should also try to help people to come into Krishna consciousness. That's the best thing. You literally, that's real salvation when you come to Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Okay.
And we are from Andhra. My mother and I, we are from Andhra. And this is my dull brain. I've been racking my head about this. Vishnugada Prabhu had once brought it up because he knows we are from Andhra. So he would always say, so you're from Andhra. So can you be Vaishnavas? Can you be devotees? And he said, my Guru Maharaj had his disciples research why people from Andhra were, so they were cursed by Vishwamitra. Something about not, he had sons, and that is the part that I'm not able to bring back. He's told us 3 times now. This thing was told to me 3 times, and I still cannot remember. But Vishwamitra had sons, and one set of sons were cursed, and so they were sent off, or they were relegated to Andhra, and I'll have to this time try and remember that. But yes, like you were saying, like Srila Prabhupada is saying in the purport, it doesn't matter where we are from. We all do have an opportunity to take this path. And very fortunate that we have all this available to us. Yes.
It's just the best thing to be a devotee. Never forget that.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any other comments? Small group today, but intimate and very nice. Hare Krishna.
There is another one you said for medicine and body, We're getting old. We're getting old. Doctor says, this is it. You have to go live with this medicine forever. But those things also, it is very good, Prabhu, to know, because mostly we don't think about that.
No.
I'm young, I can do everything, I can do all that. I know why my body is not doing, listening to me, all those things. But at one point we have to surrender. We have to surrender to God. That's all. This body won't. Like you said, the body we have to. This is not body. We have to think about our soul, like bank balance. We should keep something. Those are lots of things are there. And then again, like my daughter says, from childhood we pray God, and I used to pray all, whatever my mother used to go, I used to go with her to the temples and everywhere. But I never wish anything. I never asked anything to God, that, I need this because I'm coming to the temple, because I'm praying you. I need this. No, I never asked for it.
You're fortunate.
But you know what? I don't know whether that is good or not, but I just like that I went and prayed. That's all. But now at this age, I'm realizing, yes, we have to think about it and pray Krishna. And I want to go to his lotus feet only. And that's why I'm praying. And like that, and that feeling I'm getting now. I want this Krishna, put me at your lotus feet. That's it. That's kind of feeling I'm getting now. But I never got this kind of feeling at all. I used to go to the temple and pray. That's all.
So you see, there's an advantage, although there's suffering of the physical body that gives for a person that gets older, but there's an advantage in that the person who has started when the body could do more things, started with a connection to Krishna, and then later on the body slows down. Then of course it becomes very clear that we're not the body. That becomes very practical to us. But that situation also makes us think more about the soul and how to feed the soul. Very, very, very important at that time when the body is older, how to feed the soul. I wish I could do service like I used to. I was working very hard when the body was younger, but I go back and say, okay, so I'm glad by hearing schizo consciousness, we worked hard as much as we did at those times, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, because the body can't do that now. But at least we can share our experiences when we talk about Krishna consciousness in different places. And that's what we can do. And then, of course, the body slowing down and getting weaker also means we think more about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because there's not much now the body can help us do. So we could think about the Krishna. And the more you think about Krishna, the greater the chance of you going back to Godhead. I've seen this happen. The Buddhists who work hard, and before they left their bodies, Prabhupada disciples, the body really gave them quite an intense suffering situation.
Yeah.
And sometimes you wonder why. Well, it makes you remember Krishna more, and it makes you abandon mentally the body more. It makes you abandon that. And then whatever is left, you focus more on Krishna. And that's the advantage. You get to go back to Godhead for real. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we can end.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripa sunibhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Jai.